Do you want to learn how to set up your subject to deal the right way? How to structure it so that you don't have to worry about the due on sale clause? But more importantly, you want to put together a subject to deal where you'll get paid not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times on that same deal. I'm going to show you how to do that with this video. All right, let's get started. Okay, so here's the thing about subject to. So many people are concerned about the due on sale clause. That is when you buy property subject to existing financing. That means you're going out there, you're finding a seller who's in a distressed situation, and you're showing them a path to get out of that. And you're helping them out, but you're also being able to purchase their real estate and not have to get your own loan. That's what makes this type of investing so phenomenal for real estate investors, because you're able to buy a property with a little bit of money down and you don't have to take on any debt because you're using the seller's existing financing on the property. But here's the problem for a lot of people. They have this preconception that when you set these deals up, that the lender will accelerate the note and you're going to be stuck in a situation where the property's being foreclosed on because someone's going to notice that the property's been transferred to you from the seller. Well, I'm going to show you that's no longer a concern for you if you're doing this the right way. Now, if you've seen some of my older videos on subject to investing, well, I taught it a little different a few years ago. Why? Because the market was different. Hey, now we're in a situation where interest rates have gone up, so there's a lot of reasons why a seller may want to accelerate a note. So I'm going to show you how to avoid that. Let's go over to the board and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so let's say we're going to get involved with a subject to deal. So we have a property here and you've got a distressed seller. And so what you're going to look at doing is buying this property from this distressed seller. Now, in a lot of situations, what we might do is set up a limited liability company. In fact, I probably taught you that if you watch some of my older videos on subject to in fact do this. Now, in this environment, we don't want to do that because, as I said, I'm going to show you how to avoid a lender finding out that this property has been transferred to this entity, because that's really key here. We don't want the lender who's on this property, let's say this was Wells Fargo, to find out that this distressed seller here actually sold the property. Because if you transfer the property from the distressed seller's name to a limited liability company or to your name individually, that's kind of a red flag. If they were to pull title, seller's no longer involved with that property. So we have to look at a way to create the fiction that the seller is still involved, or so that if they're looking, they think the seller is still possibly the owner of the property. Now, we're not doing anything fraudulent here. All we're doing is creating the perception. The seller does not own it. Now, how do we do that? Well, in order to do that, we're not going to use a limited liability company as our entity. In fact, what I want to use is I'm going to set up here a land trust, all right? Now, I've got a lot of videos covering land trust, but what you'll do is you'll create a land trust to take this deal down. Now, in a land trust, you have to have 2 parties. We've talked about you have to have a trustee and you have to have a beneficiary. The beneficiary is the owner. So obviously, in my transaction here, what I'd like to do is have a limited liability company that I've set up down here as the beneficiary of this land trust. So this one is going to be my beneficiary. Okay, I'll just put Benny there. And so that's me right down here. This is my LLC. Now the trustee, all right, who are we going to make the trustee of this land trust? Well, before you start thinking, well, it's going to be me or my LLC, no, we don't want to do that, because again, that's going to throw the lender off. Because if you watch my videos, you know when I talk about deeding property into a land trust, you deed it from an individual here. Let's say this individual's name is Tom. You deed it to the trustee of this land trust. So if a lender looks at title, I want to see Tom's name still appearing there. So what I'm going to do now when I structure my deals, I'm going to list Tom as the initial trustee of this land trust. Now, the thing about the land trust that I really like is the fact that the land trust is not a publicly available document. That means no one can see the terms of this trust. All they can see is what's on title. And what you're going to see on title is that property transferred from Tom individually to Tom as trustee of, put in the blank, whatever you want for the name of the trust. So a lender, if they're looking at title, they're going to see Tom, and they're going to figure, all right, Tom's still the owner. But what's going on behind the scenes is what's a little different. So in our trust, what we'll have set up here is Tom will be the initial trustee. And then I'm going to have myself, or maybe a separate LLC that I own, as what we call the successor trustee. So I'm the successor trustee here. Now, What is this doing for me? Well, it's setting it up so that when we first transfer title, Tom's there as trustee. But as soon as the title's been transferred, I have Tom resign his position, and now I'm the undisclosed trustee. No one sees the fact that I'm actually the trustee of this trust, because that trust is not a public document. Now, this works phenomenally well for not alerting lenders to the fact that property has transferred to a third party because of the illusion here that Tom is still involved. The reality is that Tom is not. Now, if you just stopped there and you didn't do anything else, well, you got a problem. And that problem is that Tom's still listed on title as a trustee of this trust when in reality he's not. So that's a concern for me. Because if Tom was an unscrupulous individual and he wanted to go out and try to sell this property to someone else, well, he could probably do that or possibly get away with it, because all he'd have to do is create a fake trust, same name, everything, put his name on as trustee, and then he would have the apparent authority to do so. So I need to protect myself, and that's what you need to do as well. If you're going to buy subject to and you want to do this deal, this is really important now what I'm about to share with you. This is what you must do to ensure that your interests are protected. All right, so what are those things that you must do? Number one, the first thing that you want to do with this is you want to get a trustee's deed. All right, so we want Tom to give us a trustee's deed, deeding the trusteeship to you as an individual. That's number one. You have to get that, because if you're ever concerned about something Tom's up to and you want to get your name on the trust, on title, you have to go record the trustee's deed. So that's number one. The second thing we need to do, which is really just as important as number one, is do this. We want to file a notice of interest against the property. All right, so I want this LLC to record a notice of interest or notice of contract, or I like to do memorandum of interest as another way of doing this. You want to put something on title that if Tom tries to do anything with this property after you've already bought it from him, that a title company is going to go, whoa, there's this other entity out there that's claiming an interest in the property. I need to reach out to that entity. This is where you get notified if something's going on. Then they'll reach out to you and say, hey, we see you have an interest in this property. Can you explain that? Yeah, I bought the property from Tom. Tom doesn't own it. Oh, well, Tom's representing that he's trying to sell this property as his own property. And then you pull out your paperwork. You can show him that Tom does not have the ability to do that because he's not the owner and he can't pass good title. So these two items right here are critical if you're going to use this strategy. You got to file that interest. Now, the third thing you're going to want to get is a POA. Okay, a power of attorney over the trust. So you want to make sure that the trust, and I would have Tom do this, point you the power of attorney. So when you're setting up the trust, he's going to give you a power of attorney over the trust so you can make the necessary decisions. What type of decisions? Basically dealing with utilities, right? You got to be able to get in there and deal with utility companies, because many times utilities and third parties, if they look and they see Tom listed as a trustee, they don't know anything about the beneficiaries. That's all private. So how do you get past that? Someone saying, all I want to do is work with Tom. We have two options. You either record your trustee deed, drop your anonymity, and possibly then put yourself at subject to the due on sale clause, notifying the lender, or two, you again operate behind the scenes with that power of attorney that Tom gave you as a trustee of the trust. So that power of attorney I think is really important as well. Nail these three items right here, and you've got gone a lot of way to protecting yourself with doing a subject to deal. Now, I did tell you I'm going to share with you ways in which you can get paid 4 times. So if you've been waiting around wondering, all right, Clint, I've already got that figured out. I've been doing this, but I've never been told there's 4 ways to be paid when you're doing a subject to deal. Well, here's what we want to do. So when you're going into a subject to transaction, here's a property right here, and we've got our land trust set up right here. Typically what we're going to do with this type of deal a lot of times is we're going to buy the property, so then I'm going to own the property in my trust. And forget about the trustee and the beneficiary. We're not focused on that right now. So now I get the property, it's held in my trust name. Then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to lease the property to an individual. All right, so that's my first payday right there, the lease. So when I'm renting the property out, I'm getting paid and I'm bringing in money every month. So maybe I bring in $1,800, and remember, I'm paying the mortgage on this property, so I have $1,400 going out on the mortgage every month. So that leaves me a net $400 profit on this deal on a monthly basis. That's payday number one. Now, payday number two. Maybe what I'm going to do with this individual is I'm going to tell them, hey, would you like to have an option to buy this property in the future? So this is where we bring in the lease option strategy that some of you may be aware of. I've got, again, some videos on that. So we could also give this person, we'll call that option number, payday number two, an option to buy the property. That means they're going to give me money up front. So in this case, maybe they give me $5,000 up front for that option to purchase the property within 2 years. Now, whenever you're putting something like that together, it's important that you do that right. I'm going to cut a new video just on that option agreement to make sure that you don't put yourself in a position where you could end up getting rid of that property for much less than what you wanted. So be on the lookout for that video. So option number two, that $5K, that money comes in, they can buy the property in 2 years at a set price. Actually, that money right there is free money. You don't have to pay taxes on that until that option expires or it's exercised. So keep that in the back of your mind. So that payday number two is tax deferred until something happens with the option. So I've got the lease income here. I've got option income here. And then a different way to get paid is going to be number three, of course, when they actually exercise the option. This would be three. If they exercise and they buy the house from me. So now I'll get paid there because I've been paying that mortgage down over 2 years. House has gone up in value. We agreed, let's say, the mortgage, what's left on the mortgage was $175,000. I agreed to sell it to this individual in 2 years for $250,000. That's a $75,000 difference right there. So that's my third payday. Now that's a lot, right? You got $75,000 when the property is sold if they exercise the option. You got the option money, so there's another $5,000. So now you're at $80K on this deal. Plus you're making $400 a month spread on this deal, which is approximately, let's say, $5,000 a year. So that's another $10,000 over 2 years. So you add all that up, we're actually talking about $90,000 right here. Okay, here is the fourth payday. And it is the payday that a lot of people miss with these types of transactions. And there's a limited window to take advantage of this right now. When I do this deal right here, where I bought the property, right? I need to run a cost segregation study where I'm going to go in, I'm going to have somebody come in, look at the property, and then accelerate my depreciation. So rather than depreciating this property over 27 and a half years, I'm going to take the components of it. Again, check out my channel. I got more videos on cost segregation, accelerated depreciation. I'm going to take that and use the tax code to put money back in my pocket. So on a house, let's say I bought it for, there was a $175,000 note on it. Maybe I bought it for $200K because I paid them $25,000 and assumed the mortgage there. So on a $200,000 deal, you're probably going to get about $60,000 to $80,000 in deductions. And depending on your tax bracket, where that sits, let's say you're at a 20% tax bracket, then you're looking at another $12,000 to $16,000 in additional income just based on the tax deduction you're putting in your pocket. You see, that's 4 ways to get paid off a subject to transaction. And you've got very little skin in this type of deal. So I hope you learned a lot about how you put these things together. There's many ways to do that. If you want to learn more, I have my tax and asset protection event that I teach every other weekend. There's a link in the show notes below. Go ahead and subscribe to that. You're going to learn all about land trusts, how to use them, how to set them up, how to set up limited liability companies. More importantly, you're going to learn how to set this stuff up the right way if you're a real estate investor to make sure that you're using strategies like this to put more money back in your pocket. Look forward to seeing you on that event.